Would you make a deal with a leprechaun? Well, today I have for you an Irish folktale about the laziest man in all of Ireland. He's so lazy that he won't even help his wife with their crop and planting the field, which is how they get their food. So one day he comes across and makes a deal with the leprechaun, which he ends up growing the world's largest potato. It grows so large that the whole town doesn't even know what to do with it. Find out what happens in the story of Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato.
Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato, an Irish folktale retold and illustrated by Tomie DePaola. Jamie O'Rourke was the laziest man in all of Ireland. He would do anything to avoid working, especially if it had to do with growing potatoes. "Jamie O'Rourke," his wife Eileen would say, "we'll have nothing to eat this winter if you don't go out and dig up the praties." "Oh, the saints preserve us," Jamie would whine. "Me back's as sore as can be. Sure as I'm telling you, wife, you'll have to dig them up yourself. I'll break in two if I as much as get up out of this bed." So Eileen, who had done all the planting and watering and weeding anyhow, would go out to the tiny garden and dig up the smallest potatoes in Ireland. All because Jamie was too lazy to dig a larger garden and had no money to buy good potato seed. The poor Eileen wrenched her back and was laid up in bed. "Saint Bridget and Virgin Mary herself must have smiled on Eileen O'Rourke," the village woman said. "Why, it isn't it's the first rest she's had since she's married Jamie O'Rourke." With Eileen in bed, Jamie began to worry. No Eileen to dig meant no praties all winter, and no praties meant no food. "Oh, poor me," wailed Jamie. "I'll starve to death. I'd best go to church and confess to Father O'Malley. There's no telling how soon old Death will be knocking at my door." So even though it was midnight, Jamie set out for the church. He was about halfway down the hill when he heard singing and a tap, tap, tapping sound. "Sure, I wouldn't be knowing," Jamie whispered. "But I swear it's a leprechaun." And sure enough, sitting in a circle of ferns in the moonlight was a leprechaun singing and hammering tiny nails into the heels of the fairy boots he was making. Jamie knew just what to do. He crept up and grabbed the little man by his coattails and held firm. "Let me go! Let me go!" the leprechaun shouted. "Not on your life," Jamie said. "Not until you show me where you keep your pot of gold." Now, everyone in Ireland knows that leprechauns make boots and dancing shoes for the fairies, who pay them with gold. And everyone knows that if you catch a leprechaun, he'll pay for his freedom with a pot of gold. But this leprechaun was cleverer than most. "Oh, please, Mr. Motorman," he pleaded. "I'm just starting out making fairy shoes, and I only have 1 or 2 pieces of gold in my pot. Won't you take a wish instead?" "Why, what would I wish for?" asked Jamie. "Me, who's about to die of starvation because my wife is sick in bed and can't dig up the praties for winter. And there's such a puny praties anyhow." "Well," said the leprechaun, reaching into his pocket, You could wish for the biggest party in the world. It was the last of all winter. You wouldn't have to do anything more than plant the seed, water it, and wait. That sounded wonderful to Jamie. Done, he shouted. As the leprechaun dropped the seed into Jamie's hand, Jamie let go of his coattail and off that leprechaun scampered. When Eileen heard what he had done, she was furious. Jamie O'Rourke, you're not only the laziest man in Ireland, but a fool as well. Giving up a pot of gold for a pratty seed. Well, I'm going to plant this seed and water it, and you'll see, Jamie said. And out he went. And faith, Eileen did see. In no time at all, the biggest, finest potato plant had sprouted out of the ground, followed by the potato itself. It was so big it pushed up not only all the dirt in the garden, but the garden shed and the corner of the cottage as well. We'll surely know it's ready to dig, Jamie said proudly. He hoed all around it, but he couldn't dig that pratty out of the ground. He got a beam and a big rock and tried to pry it out. He pushed and pushed, but it wouldn't budge. As he was pondering what to do, his neighbor passed by on his way to the village. He couldn't believe his eyes. He couldn't wait to tell everyone in the village what he had seen. And before he knew it, the hills up to Jamie was filled with villagers coming to see the big potato. Where did it come from? They asked. Jamie told them about the lucky night he had caught the leprechaun and how smart he had been. Why, anyone could have gotten that pot of gold, he bragged. But the biggest pratty in the world, well, that took some doing. However did you outsmart the leprechaun? They all asked at once. Jamie hesitated and scratched his head. We'll help you dig up your pratty, Jamie, if you tell us how you did it. And they grabbed shovels and hoes and started to dig. They dug and they dug and they pushed and they shoved until the potato flew up out of its hole. It rolled down the hill faster and faster until it reached the bottom, where it bounced up high and came to a stop, wedged between the stone walls on either side of the road. What to do now? That pratty is so big that no cart, nothing can get by it, the constable complained to Father O'Malley. How's a body to get in or out of the village? What shall we do? The villagers wailed. Then they all looked at Jamie and said, It's your pratty. You'll have to move it out of our way. Well, Eileen spoke up, there's nothing more than enough pratty for everyone. Why don't you all take some? So the villagers sawed and chopped and carted off huge pieces of potato while Jamie sat on the stone wall and watched. All winter long, everyone had a potato to eat and eat and eat until no one wanted to see or hear of a potato again. In the spring, Jamie said, "I've saved a potato's eye for a seed. It's just about time to plant it." "Oh no!" the villagers all cried. "If you promise not to plant it, Jamie, we'll promise before St. Patrick and All Saints to see that you and Eileen always have plenty to cook and eat. We don't want another giant party around here." Jamie smiled and agreed. What a perfect life for a lazy man. "And so you see, darling Eileen," Jamie told her, "I wasn't such a fool with that leprechaun after all." And Eileen had to admit that Jamie O'Rourke was right.
So, what do you think the lesson is from this story? Well, I think it's about how a lot of times that taking the easy way out of things ends up costing us more in the end. It ends up costing us more work and more struggle and just a hassle in the end. An example could be for our lives. Let's say you're asked to clean your room or clean something in the house. Let's use our room. So you decide, well, you know what? I want my room clean real quick. I don't want to deal with putting things away or trashing things that don't belong in certain areas. I'm just going to shove all my closet. Well, it looks clean, right? Everything looks spick and span. There's nothing around. But what happens when our parents come in and open that closet door? And it all comes crashing down on them. You betcha you're going to be in a lot more trouble and have a lot more work to do in the end. So do you think that Jamie O'Rourke should have just done his work in the first place? Or do you think he was just better off in the end just to make that deal? Well, guys, if you like this story today, go ahead and let me know by clicking that like and subscribe button, and you'll know when I have a new story for you to read. And parents, if you would like a free Read Aloud worksheet, I have made one, and you can go ahead and click that link in the description below and grab that freebie. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.